Welcome to the first installment of Fantasy Heroes, Fantasy Losers, Unsung Hero, my breakdown of the best and worst performers of fantasy football for that previous week. This week we're breaking down week 3. We're going to be giving you this every Tuesday at the latest Wednesday upload. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure to like and subscribe on the channel. But let's break it down. Week 1 was a bad week for wide receivers. Some of these guys were non-factors, like AJ Brown. Barely knew he was in the game. If you were just looking at the box score, you would have been like, what the fuck did he do? But this week, wide receivers went the fuck off. It was a great performance by many wide receivers. I got a couple on this breakdown. Let's start off with one of them in Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he was talking hella shit how he's going to boo Ben Johnson and all this stuff. He's been talking about, matching up with Ben Johnson and the Bears. That's been a huge topic of discussion on his podcast. And he showed up. He backed up the talk in this performance. Put up 39.2 fantasy points. Was one of the leaders in fantasy this week for most points. Had 115 yards, 3 touchdowns, 9 catches. Just a clinic. Tyreek Stevenson, Nashawn Wright, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Cooked both of them. It didn't matter who was lined up in front of him. He cooked them. Barbecue chicken. Fantastic route runner. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. And this kind of production kind of shows you he could be at best a top 3 receiver in the NFL. He's up there with the Jamar Chases, CeeDee Lambs, those kind of guys. But there was concern about Detroit Lions offense. Was this an offense that could flourish without Ben Johnson? He proved that. So did the other weapons for the Detroit Lions. So did Jared Goff. Unfortunate it was against my favorite team. But Lions, there was concern. He ended that shit Sunday. Him and this Lions team. The next guy I have, the next fantasy winner, is Jared Goff, quarterback for the Detroit Lions. People were like, hey, he's 0-19. I said this too. He's 0-19-1 without Sean McVay and Ben Johnson as his coordinator calling plays. And this week against the Bears got no pressure. But he still put up a clinic on them too. 5 passing touchdowns, 334 yards passing, damn near a perfect quarterback rating, 44 points total. He was a leader in fantasy this week for most points. He shut up all the fucking noise about him and this Lions offense. And yeah, he had all the time in the world, sliced and diced them. He's a second best quarterback in fantasy right now after this performance. So I expect to see more of this. I expect to see him play to this level. And I guess week 1 was kind of just a showing that just displayed that the Packers were the best defense in the NFL and that the Packers were a dominant team. Not that the Lions were a terrible team and the regression was huge. No, the Packers are just a better team now. That's all we learned. But the Lions offense, I think this was a good performance for them. Everybody in this offense, Jameson Williams had a big day. David Montgomery, Gibbs, this whole entire offense put up points. And Tesla, bruh. Isaac Tesla, he had that another one-handed catch. Big play for the Lions and, really helped them score before the end of that first half and really settled the score. Another receiver I have on this fantasy winners list, Jamar Chase. We know what's happening with Joe Burrow. He's going to miss potentially most of the season. December 15th is his day of return. We'll see what this team looks like without him. In this game, in his absence, Jake Browning hooped, especially in the second half. And big part of that was Jamar Chase just being unguardable and being dominant, carrying his team. He scored 22.8 points in fantasy when Joe Burrow was out of this game. 11 targets to Jamar Chase from Browning out of his 32 pass attempts. And he caught 10 of his 14 passes from Jake Browning. So this was a dominant performance from Jamar Chase. This is one of those, hey, I got you guys. I'm going to put the team on my back and get us the victory. It helps Trevor Lawrence's ass cheeks too, but Jamar Chase was a big reason why the Bengals won this game even without Burrow. And I think he'll still be a productive receiver, but I don't think he'll be this productive. There is some reason for concern if you have Jamar Chase as one of your receivers in fantasy. I don't think he'll have a dominant season like he did last year, but who knows? Jamar Chase is still the best receiver in the NFL, I think, now. If the motherfucker can throw a pass, he gonna catch it. So we'll see what Jamar Chase does. I would just temper your expectations. My unsung hero for this game was Rome Odunze. He is the receiver 1 for the Chicago Bears now. If you didn't start him previously because you still were concerned if he's that guy yet, if DJ Moore is the leader still, it's officially set in stone. He's a receiver 1 now after that game against the Lions. Put up huge production, 7 catches, 128 yards. He's gotten 20 targets in the first 2 games, 11 targets in this game against the Lions. 2 receiving touchdowns, already has 3 receiving touchdowns on the season, more than he did last year. So there's a more of an emphasis for him to get the ball from Caleb Williams this season. That's what it's looking like. Caleb Williams trusts and depends on Rome Odunze, and so far he's come up big for him majority of the time. He still has some drops every now and then, but we're going to see a breakout season from Rome Odunze, and he has the Cowboys defense this week. Malik Neighbors just put up 37 yards against his defense, so I think Rome Odunze is going to have a big day. Eberflus, former coach, more momentum with that. So I think Caleb Williams is going to throw a couple passing touchdowns to Rome Odunze. So if you didn't start Rome last week, you got to start him this week. He'll have a bigger performance, I think, than last week. 31.8 fantasy points this week against the Lions, 7th highest in the NFL. I expect it to continue from Rome Odunze. My 2 biggest losers for fantasy this week, Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews. Derrick Henry, 2.3 fantasy points. He couldn't get any daylight on this front 7 for the Browns. Didn't get a receiving target either in the passing game. So he was just out there doing cardio, basically. Lamar Jackson had a big day in the pocket, though. More emphasis on the passing attack, I guess, this week. But Derrick Henry, he's a fantastic player. I don't think we'll see him have too many performances like this. So obviously it probably affected you winning your game this last week, but don't expect this to be a trend. Mark Andrews, though, 1.5 fantasy points in week 1, 1.4 fantasy points in week 2. So he's really been concerning. With Isaiah Likely out, you would think he's getting a lot of opportunity to be that guy, but Lamar Jackson really hasn't looked his way too much. He only has 2 catches for 7 yards. Rashad Bateman, another guy that hasn't really been looked to. It's been Zay Flowers and DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe there's just more emphasis on getting the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, so he's newer to get that connection right for the playoffs, get that connection right early. But so far, I mean, Mark Andrews, if he's your tight end 1, look at other options. Look at Harold Fannin Jr. Look at Jawan Johnson, because that's production that can really cost you at a crucial position in fantasy. I think Derrick Henry, though, will bounce back and have a huge game against Detroit, run all over that defense. I would probably sit Mark Andrews this upcoming week. Another guy that I had that was a fantasy loser, I know he got a concussion in the second half, didn't play, but Justin Fields, 3.9 fantasy points. And for me, I started Justin Fields in every fantasy league I had him in. I was expecting the production I got from him last week against the Steelers, where he went off, peak Justin Fields game, probably the best game of his career. I thought, Buffalo's defense was a little worse than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And nope, first half, he was shut out. Only had like one big run at the end of right before the end of half. So either way, I don't think Justin Fields would have had too good of a game if he played in the second half. But very disappointing to say the least. Hopefully he's good and he clears concussion protocol. But that's all I got for this week's Fantasy Heroes, Unsung Hero, and Biggest Losers. Let me know down below in the comments if I missed a player, somebody that cost you your matchup this week, or somebody that helped you win your matchup this week. Let me know down below. Some people thought the NFC North was going to be the worst division in football this season. They thought it was going to be as bad as the NFC South.